The reason I do what I do is because I want my own kids to be able to be guaranteed teachers, like people, really qualified people who care about them, who are in the buildings. And I want that for my grandkids as
Yeah.
well. And so in a world where we don't have to worry about that, there's no pipeline issue, retention isn't a problem. They're probably getting paid better, honestly, to fix some of this. That would
Yeah.
help me sleep better at night.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brighter Together podcast. My name is Janet Courtney, and my special guest today is Jessica Werner. Jessica is the founder and CEO of North Shore Learning Center, and it is in St. Paul, Minnesota. Jessica, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here.
So, Jessica, tell us a little bit about you and how you got to this role, and a little bit about North Shore.
Great. Well, as you said, I'm the founder and CEO, and it started out, it was just me. And I would work, I would work in schools, and I would do all the business development and all the logistical pieces. And we went from one school to two schools to 10 schools. And then we were working outside of Minnesota. And now I'm actually in South America because we work outside of the US. So we grew pretty quickly in the last 5 years, since 2020. 6 years now. Oh my gosh.
Wow. Yeah.
And we work with schools now worldwide on all different pieces, but our main strategy is we're trying to help schools keep teachers in schools. And that's from lots of people are leaving the profession. Lots of people are jumping around school to school. They're looking for a different school culture. They're looking for more support with student behaviors, student learning needs. So we provide support to schools in many ways, including those.
So I'm just curious. This is something from somebody that's also a business owner, but I'm not in the same vein as you. I do related services. We do
Mhm.
special education only. How do you do something like that? How do you become a consultant? I'm just really curious because I don't I I'm ignorant of what you do or how it works. I've talked to people that are consultants, and I know that there are consultants, but I don't understand the process. So help me to understand that process.
Well, we're probably similar to Lighthouse in that we provide services,
Okay.
and people find out about us in different ways. It's mostly referral based, mostly word of mouth. I attend conferences, again, internationally, domestically, but really the referrals speak really highly. In schools, as you know, they don't have time, they don't have funds to go out and try and vet a whole bunch of people to bring in front of their staff. And they're really picky about who they bring in front of their staff because unfortunately, everybody everywhere has been through bad PD. So
Hmm.
we presented at a school last week in South Carolina. It was our first time. And the principal told us after we had presented and everybody was really pleased. She said, I told my teachers sometimes PD is good, sometimes it's bad. Just be open-minded and we'll see what happens. And we were all so happy with the way things worked out. And I thought, wow, that's terrible that everybody
Yeah.
isn't sure what they're going to get. So, yeah, word of mouth. Our services look different. We provide a lot of facilitation in terms of workshops, half day, full day, virtual. But also, we do coaching days where we come into a school and we work one on one with different teachers throughout the day, throughout the week. I'm here in Columbia for a month. And
Wow.
this is a new venture. We're trying kind of a longer term consulting relationship out, seeing how that impacts schools differently. So what we do too is everything we are trying is directly coming from the schools themselves. They're saying, for our context, this would work best. It's an in-person training or it's a virtual series, or can somebody come 3 times this year? And then we create it if and when we can. I have a team. So I have about 12 people who are working with me also as consultants.
Hmm.
Between the 13 of us, we can usually meet the needs of schools.
Wow, that's impressive. So teacher retention is a big piece of what you do. What other pieces do you guys address?
Well, we know the reason teachers are leaving because the data is pretty It's pretty obvious right now. The number one reason is dealing with student behaviors, excessive behaviors. A lot of times this crosses into special ed because often we have students who are undiagnosed,
Right.
um,
Yeah.
or they have a diagnosis, but they perhaps have teachers who have a hard time understanding how to support their needs in the classroom. So our work actually really complements the work of the special educators and the counselors and therapists who are also working with families in schools. So student behavioral needs is number one, um, especially with the older students, I would say middle and high school. The chief complaint that's driving people out is they're sensing a lot of apathy in the age group. They say it's hard to motivate kids who are teenagers today. They think they just don't want to be in school. We know some of these things are true to some extent, but a lot of it actually is reflected in the way that we're engaging with them at school. So we do work with teachers around increasing motivation and engagement. Um, Well-being for teachers, that's my personal favorite topic,
Mm-hmm.
and just helping the teachers understand, when I enter into things that are difficult at school, the only thing I can really control is myself. And
Right.
so we focus our well-being work really helping the teachers take care of themselves in a way that they can show up to hard situations, difficult behaviors, apathetic students, and turn things around or at least leave this situation feeling like they've done their best. Also, executive function skills, we just keep hearing are low.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would know. I had
Yeah.
this conversation yesterday with a group of fifth grade teachers, and the fifth graders, as you know, I call them the COVID ground zero group because they were in kindergarten during the first year of COVID. And so we're seeing big gaps in executive function. So that's one of our most popular webinars that we're giving. So
Yeah.
again, it just kind of comes depending on the needs we're hearing from the schools. And we like to go in person when we can because context is so important. And being there in person, getting to see the class in front of the teacher, getting to know what the culture of the school is like, all those factors play into teacher well-being and retention.
Wow. Yeah, for sure. That's amazing. So how did you get started? How did you decide to do this?
I kind of didn't, which is probably the secret to my success. I never sought out being a business owner, being a consultant.
Mhm.
Um, Several years ago, when I was in a different job, I was also teaching for the university classroom management to pre service teachers. And part of my teaching assignment was supervision. So I would go to the schools where they were located doing their student teaching hours and
Uh-huh.
supervise student teachers. And at one of the schools, the principal pulled me aside after, and this is in 2018, I think. And he said, "Okay, what you're doing is really important, and we don't have anything like this. Can you come work with my other teachers who aren't student teachers?" And I wasn't even sure how to answer. I said, "I yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Is that something that happens? Is that something schools have a budget for?" And so my entry into consulting was really accidental, which I think probably helped because as I learn, I have no expectations.
Yeah.
I don't have any kind of expectation. We're going to be this big or we're going to service this many schools. Just as we grow organically, I'm always excited and surprised, and I'm able to kind of pivot as necessary. And I think for me, that was an important way to start the business because if I had known how difficult it was going to be, I never would have tried.
Oh, you sound like me. Oh, you
So
sound like me.
I recommend the accidental business owner.
Yeah.
That's the accidental founder.
Yeah, I don't think there's an entrepreneur out there or a founder, a CEO founder that would say, "Gosh, it was easier than I thought it was gonna be."
And I'm glad I had no idea what it would be like
Yeah,
because
yeah.
anybody who thinks it's easy, and people ask me all the time. Somebody asked me earlier today, "Okay, how do you get into consulting?" And I wanted to say, I think the trick is to not want to be a consultant and
Right,
see what
yeah.
happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because there's so many, and it's not when you're an owner and when you're a founder, I always tell people it's like a juggler spinning plates, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the
That's a great
plate that's
metaphor.
wobbling is the one that gets the attention. And sometimes there's too many wobbling at the same time. So you end up working some really, really long hours. And it's
Mhm.
never 9 to 5, never 9 to 5. If you want nine to
No.
five, or if you want 7:30 to 3:30 or 7:30 to 4, like a school is, This is not the job for you.
There are lots of jobs like that if you want them.
Yeah, there are.
There are
Yeah, for
lots of
sure.
opportunities. I know, and it's hard on the family sometimes because,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to a new school partner, if they're calling me after hours, I will take the call
Mhm.
because my principals that I work with who hire us, they're really busy. And during the school day, it's hard to find time to talk. So, occasionally I'll have to take calls at night or during dinner. And it's hard to
Mhm.
say, I do this, but it buys me so much flexibility in other ways.
Yeah, and look where you are. You're in Colombia. How cool is
It's so
that?
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did that come about? Was it just a referral from a school in the States?
It was a referral from another international school. We work in about 15 international schools. So those are schools mostly in capital cities, but this one is not. This one is up in a city in the mountains. But international schools exist, or maybe their initial purpose was to have for people who are in the State Department or who worked for governments who are being placed around the world, that their children would have somewhere to go to school and they could count on the curriculum being similar from place to place, and usually the language of instruction is English. And I taught in an international school in 2004 in Warsaw, Poland. So that was my
Oh, wow.
introduction to this world. And so when I started the business and I started growing domestically, I had in the back of my head, there are also these schools internationally that are seeing all the same issues.
Right.
So I very slowly over the last 5 years tried to carve out a little niche in the international schools market, which is a completely different market,
Right.
completely, different set of challenges to enter. But yeah, by good referrals, networking, going to conferences,
Uh-huh.
giving away things. We give a lot of free webinars. It's a way for people to access our content and learn about us without having to make the commitment yet to
Right.
engage.
Mhm. Yeah.
This came about, and I actually was the one who proposed, what if we tried something longer term to see what it would be like to have somebody coming to support the teachers who's there for longer than a few days or a week. And so the way this worked out is they agreed to let me put my 8th grade daughter in their school. So
Ah,
she's out there in school as a
fun for her.
student here.
Yeah.
It's really fun, and I get to work on campus. And so it's a win-win, but it's the first time anything like this, to my knowledge, has really been piloted in this way. So just trying to see what are other ways we can serve schools that, maybe outside the box of
Right.
traditional consulting.
What if every student could work with a therapist who brings not just credentials, but years of experience and wisdom to the table? At Lighthouse Therapy, most of our therapists have over 16 years of real world experience. We don't just fill seats. Instead, we find therapists who've seen it all and know how to help. And every new therapist is paired with a mentor to help them guide them every step of the way. Whether through virtual, hybrid, or in person delivery, your students are getting services that's thoughtful, experienced, and genuinely human. Visit lighthouse-therapy.com/brighter together to learn more. Yeah, and I love that you give things away to help them to understand what you do, because one of the things that we do at Lighthouse is we will contract. We have no minimums. It's like it's one of
Yeah,
those
we
things
don't
that,
either.
yeah, just what do you need? Where is the gap that you need filled by us, and we will fill that gap for you, because that's the most important part. I'm not here to become a billionaire. I'm not here to break your budget. I'm not here to do any of those things. I want to, I'm a Christian. God called me to this. I didn't plan on being a business owner either. So I totally get what you're saying. And it isn't 9 to 5. And boy, if you go international, it becomes 24/7 almost.
With the time differences.
Yeah, with the time
Ooh,
differences. Yeah. And that's something that we've been talking about, and something I've been really working on is getting into the department. Well, it used to be the DOD, now it's the DOW. But
yeah.
there's so many gaps in when these kids get seen, and when the mom or the dad that's in the military PCSs, it's like there's another 4 to 6 month gap there. And it's like, I'm just trying to find the right person to help fill those gaps. I don't want want to fix everything else that you're doing. You guys are doing that. But the average wait time for a child that is military is 700 days. It's insane. 700
That
days. Yeah.
that's just too long.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. That's 2 years of development that child's 23 months is what it is, and it's just so we actually went to Turning Point USA's the America Fest and hoped in hopes of finding the right person, just trying again, making those connections because there's a lot of influential people in this government that are at that conference, and so it was really great. We got to talk to some really cool people, but, I'm still waiting for my phone to ring. So, but it'll happen. It'll happen eventually. And again, it's something we as a team have talked about. It's like, we're going to do this and we can fix it in 30 days because it's virtual and we can get therapists from anywhere. Actually, my director of clinical operations, Erin O'Connell, she started working for me. We started working together. I shouldn't say me. We started working together 10 years ago, and she was in Japan. Her husband was in the military and he was in Japan. So she worked late evenings until like 2 o'clock in the morning and then it was crazy, but that's
Wow.
what she
Yeah.
did. That's how she did it to work in the States because
Right.
she had that time difference. So there will always be that time difference. But I know there are international Americans too that want to work and can't necessarily work. And there's just so many kids that need services. And it just breaks my heart. It absolutely breaks my heart. So, anyway, we don't talk about, I wasn't here to talk about me, but it's the same kind of thing of exactly what you're talking about, serving the needs of those kids. And I love that you guys are doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm ge if we wanted to get rich, this is not the right industry.
Right.
We're not in the right place, and I don't know about you, but over the years, I've found so many communities, business owners, and I hear so much advice from all the angles, and I've just had to learn, and it's taken a long time, and I'm still learning, what just is not applicable in the industry that I'm in. Yes, that approach might work in every other industry. It does not work here. Like you said, no minimums. I work in
Mm-hmm.
schools. Even packages, we don't have anything prepackaged because context is so important. It wouldn't even make sense. And those are things people say are bad business practice. But
Not in
I think
education. Not in
I think, you know
education.
what?
Yeah.
This is a different animal,
Yeah.
and people in education know. They know when you're in it for the right reasons. They can sniff out sales, they can
Mm-hmm.
sniff out opportunity, people looking for opportunities to exploit them or,
Right.
and that's just I think that's why we were able to grow and we are growing is people know they can trust us.
Right. Oh, that's so
We're
true.
fair
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
try to operate with a lot of integrity. And at the end of the day, we're just serving the teachers who are ultimately serving the kids.
Right. Exactly. Oh gosh, you sound like me because that's exactly it. I have seen since COVID, and I'm probably going to get myself in trouble for saying this, but there many of the my big competitors have taken investors because um the venture capitalists and investors found out that there was quote money to be made in special education, and
Oh,
so
it's
all of the
just
big players have taken on investors, and it totally changes the landscape of those companies. And so one of the things that we say, and I've said this before, I started in 18 before the pandemic. I was like, we will never take on investors because I saw what investors and a board does to some of these companies, and every single one of them, exactly like you said, these people come in and they think they know the industry, and then they're in trouble within 12 months because they aren't getting the sales as fast as they thought they could.
mm-mm.
I've seen people. I hired a consultant once and it was not good. I'm like, yeah, you can say that all you want, but it doesn't work that way. So, I mean, and that trust factor and, being there at the conferences like you were talking about, my sales guy, John Higby, he's amazing at that. And he's dragged me all over the country. I just keep going. I'm like, oh, I'm tired, but I'll keep going. The same thing. Same thing. It's like, and I always tell people at the end of these meetings, hey, our best form of sales is word of mouth. So,
I
tell
keep
people about us. Yeah.
I honestly keep hoping there's an easier way. I'm like, where's the easier direction? And I feel like I've tried them. I've done digital marketing, I've PR. Where is the easiest way to do it? And keeps coming back to referrals and word of mouth. So now I'm just trying to lean into it and
Yeah.
appreciate that that it
Yeah.
happens. It happens at the pace it's supposed to, which is sometimes slower than I
Yeah.
would like, but
Yeah,
it
and
happens.
that's it. It just but every single school and every single child and every single teacher matter, and that's what you're
Yeah,
doing. Yeah,
absolutely.
it's beautiful. That's beautiful. So, I'm gonna ask you a question that I kinda ask a lot of my, podcast people, attendees is or guests, whatever you wanna call them. If you could, in education and in your world, if you could fix just one thing and have it never be an issue, and you can't say money, we know that every school needs more money, right? Every
Just
school needs more
money.
money, just a funny. Yeah. But if you could just fix one thing and never have to worry about it again or never have to deal with that again, what would that one thing be?
Gosh, I mean, right now, I would love the reason I do what I do is because I want my own kids to be able to be guaranteed teachers. Like, people really qualified people who care about them, who are in the buildings, and I want that for my grandkids as well. And so in a world where we don't have to worry about that, there's no pipeline issue, retention isn't a problem, they're probably getting paid better, honestly, to fix some of this. That would
Yeah.
help me sleep better at night.
Yeah. That's a great one. Just good teachers. Yeah. And
Who
you
wanna
look at
stay, and they
yeah.
do stay.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, I think, and it does go back to money though, but it goes back to let's pay our teachers and pay them well for the work that they're doing because they're not being paid well because they're not funding education properly. And, until we fix that issue, and it's just gotten worse. And it's like been this thing that hasn't, I mean, it's never been just like a deep dive, like all of a sudden it became a disaster. It's just steadily, steadily, steadily gone downhill. And it's just like we gotta fix it. Gotta find a way to fix it.
Yeah, somebody told me recently it was a cab driver I had who was from West Africa, and he said, "America does not invest in human capital the way it should." He said, "If they did" it was such a wise observation, "If they did, your schools would be better, you would have more teachers." And I thought, "You're exactly right, we just aren't focused on what we should be in the right way."
Yeah. Yeah, and the best way to get ahead in this world is getting an education, going and finishing high school. And, if I think there are lots of things that can be done in the secondary realm, but there's so much you got to get past high school to even talk about that. So,
Right.
and I've had lots of people come on and talk about education is so key, and how do we get them educated? They have to be feeling like they're okay and that they're fed and they're
Mhm.
dressed and they're not afraid and all of those things. And then you have to have somebody that can teach them, which is the piece that
Mhm.
you're adding in. So really, really
Right.
great. Yeah. It's a tough thing, but that's why we're here, because I say, as we labeled the podcast Brighter Together, because you know, it's not gonna be fixed by one person. It's not gonna be fixed by what just you are doing or what I am doing and just what that superintendent is doing. It is a cooperative effort that we have to keep fighting this fight, and we just keep doing it. And it's a good fight, but it's a fight for sure.
That's why I love meeting other people in this community, this collective ecosystem of supporting kids and schools because it matters. And it matters that we know each other and that we know who are are on the same side with us in the hard work. So thank you so much for
Yeah,
reaching out to be able to do
absolutely.
this.
So tell people, because this is going to go out, where do people who haven't heard you by word of mouth, because this is going to be an opportunity for other educators, because we get about 4,000 views on TikTok and we get about 4,000 views right now, and it keeps going up on YouTube. So tell people where they can find you. Let's give you that great plug.
So the easiest way to find us is our website. It's northshorelearning.org. And you have access right away to the free resources. We have a YouTube channel where I have short videos, I have long videos, different topics. So you can get a feel for how we operate, who we are. But it's northshorelearning.org. And I welcome hearing from anybody who's out there listening, especially if you're a teacher in the schools world. Just thank you for what you do. You don't hear it enough. So I like to reiterate that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you are the front line. Yeah. As
You are.
teachers, you guys are the front line and we need you. We need more of you. Please stay. Please keep
Please
fighting the
try.
good fight for our kids,
Don't give
for
up
our
yet.
children. Yes. Yeah. And talk to people, that's the other thing.
Right.
That's the emotional piece for our teachers. If you're struggling, talk to somebody. Please talk to somebody.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
feels like a lonely job. This
Yeah.
is what we hear. You're siloed, you're in your classroom, you're in your school, but that's why we spread the word about what we do. It's like you're not alone. There are
Hmm.
other people. I have the conversations in Colombia. I say, "Oh, last week I was with a teacher in Minnesota who dealt with the same thing." Just
Hmm.
helping people realize they're not alone. We really are in it together communally as like a system in the world, but it's easy to not feel that way in the day to
Yeah.
day.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Well, Jessica, it has been such a pleasure to have this conversation with you. Thank you so much. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Have a great time in Colombia. How fun is that you get to do
Thank
that? I
you.
love that so much for you and for your daughter, and for all of those teachers that are going to get the information from you. So thank you again for sharing your time with us.
Thank you so much.